Imagine, just for a moment, those huge trucks you see rolling down the highway pretty much constantly.
Hmm.
They aren't just, big vehicles. They're basically the lifeblood of our whole economy. They deliver everything we use.
Everything. Your coffee, your clothes, that gadget you just ordered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, the idea was, well, that this really crucial job was mainly for one group of people.
Right. Predominantly white men. That was the perception.
Hey, but you actually look closer, um, look at the data, listen to the stories, there's this kind of quiet revolution happening out there on the roads.
A really significant shift. Yeah.
So today, we're going to dive deep into diversity in trucking. Our goal is to sort of unpack why this change is so important, what amazing things are actually driving it, and, what the future looks like with everyone behind the wheel.
And we'll be drawing on the sources you shared, giving everyone a good shortcut to understanding this whole picture.
Okay, so let's start there. When we talk about diversity in trucking, what are we really getting at? It sounds simple, but it feels like there's more to it.
You're absolutely right. At its core, it's about making sure people from all sorts of backgrounds, women, Black, Latino, Asian, Indigenous folks, veterans, others too, have a genuinely equal shot.
Not just to get the job.
No, critically, to succeed once they're in, to build a real career. For many years, there were real barriers, things that made it tough for women and minorities to even get in the door or feel truly welcome.
And it wasn't about whether they could do the job.
Not at all about ability. It was more about systemic things, obstacles built into the system, maybe unintentionally, that just didn't support a diverse workforce.
Can you give an example? Like, what did those obstacles look like in practice based on the sources?
Sure. Well, think about things like rest stops. Historically, were they designed with, say, a solo woman driver's safety and needs in mind? Often not.
Okay.
Or recruitment, maybe. It relied too much on informal networks, word of mouth, which tended to be male-dominated.
Right, so others wouldn't even hear about the jobs.
Exactly. And another big one the sources mention is language. Lack of training materials or support in languages other than English. These weren't always conscious exclusion, but they definitely created hurdles.
Got it, so these barriers were there. But now the industry itself seems to be shifting its thinking. What's the big realization they've had? Why embrace diversity now?
I think the big revelation, and it comes through in a lot of the industry reports, is really a fundamental truth. Trucking needs everyone, pure and simple.
An economic necessity.
Partly, yes, but also operational. They've realized that when you include all kinds of people with different experiences, different ways of solving problems, the whole industry just gets stronger.
How so? Stronger in what way?
More resilient, smarter, more innovative. It's not just about fairness, though that's important. It's about making trucking better.
Okay, that makes sense. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because it's not just an ethical thing. There are solid, practical reasons why this push is happening. One huge one is the driver shortage. Our sources are really clear on this. There just aren't enough drivers.
Not even close. We're talking tens of thousands short every year.
Yeah.
And it could get much worse, maybe over 160,000 short by 2030.
Wow. So opening doors to women, to minorities, that directly helps fill those seats.
Absolutely. It's vital, not just for the trucking companies, but for the whole supply chain, for keeping things moving, keeping shelves stocked. It impacts all of us.
And then there's the idea that different people bring different perspectives. How does that play out?
Well, it's fascinating. The sources give examples like diverse teams finding blind spots in route planning that maybe others missed. One company apparently cut fuel use by 15% thanks to insights from a more varied driver group.
Really? 15%.
Yeah. And another study mentioned, I think by Women in Trucking, suggested companies with more women drivers saw fewer minor accidents, maybe different driving styles, more risk-averse approaches contributing.
So it's not just filling seats, it's potentially improving safety and efficiency too.
Exactly. It becomes an engine for innovation, not just a nice to have.
And the third point that really stood out was representation. Just seeing someone like you doing the job.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. If you see someone who looks like you or comes from your community driving that big rig successfully, it makes you think.
Hey, maybe I could do that too.
Precisely. It grows the pool of potential drivers organically. It inspires the next generation, especially in communities that maybe never saw trucking as an option before. It tackles that pipeline problem right at the source.
So if you connect all those dots, the shortage, the new ideas, the representation.
Yeah. You see, it's not just separate benefits. They feed each other. It creates this virtuous cycle. You get more drivers, better operations, a stronger workforce.
This strengthens the whole supply chain.
and the communities that rely on it, which is basically everyone. It's an investment in the whole system.
Okay, so we understand why it's happening, but what's the reality today? Who's actually driving these trucks now?
The sources gave some numbers.
Right, so women drivers, it's still pretty low, around 8%, less than 1 in 10.
Yeah, it's growing, but slowly. Definitely room for improvement there.
Black drivers, though, are around 17%, which is interesting because that's pretty close to their share of the general population.
It is. That's a notable point. It suggests maybe some barriers are lower there, or outreach has been more effective historically in that community compared to others.
And Latino drivers.
About one track.
About 14%, and the sources say that number's growing fast.
Very fast. That's a really dynamic area right now. Lots of new Latino drivers entering the field.
Asian and indigenous drivers are still smaller groups numerically.
Fewer, yes, but there's growing support. New programs specifically targeting recruitment and support for those communities are starting to emerge.
So the picture is getting more diverse, but unevenly.
Exactly. More colorful, as one article put it. But yeah, the numbers clearly show where the biggest gaps and maybe the biggest opportunities still are, like for women, and continuing the growth in the Latino community.
And this progress isn't just happening randomly. There are specific efforts pushing this forward. What are some of the key initiatives making a difference?
Well, you've got organizations like the Women in Trucking Association, WIT. They're a major force.
What do they do
A
exactly?
lot. They promote trucking careers for women. They run mentoring programs. They help companies create more inclusive workplaces. They celebrate female drivers. They even have this cool program with the Girl Scouts.
A patch.
Yeah, a Women in Trucking patch, trying to plant that seed early, show young girls it's a possibility.
That's clever. And what about groups focused on minority outreach?
Also critical. There's the Next Generation in Trucking Association. They work with high schools and colleges, diverse ones, bringing trucking education right to them.
Trying to catch people young.
Right. And the Black Truckers Association of America, they focus on fair hiring, mentorship, building community support specifically for Black drivers.
Addressing unique challenges.
Yeah. And then the Latino Trucking Association helps Spanish-speaking drivers, maybe with training in Spanish, navigating licenses, finding business opportunities, really practical stuff.
And it's not just nonprofits, right? Big companies are involved too.
Oh, definitely. Major carriers like Schneider, J.B. Hunt, UPS, FedEx, they're investing heavily in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Is it just talk, or are they actually doing things?
No, it seems pretty concrete. They have dedicated DEI officers, internal groups like employee resource groups for women or veterans, leadership training focused on inclusion, multilingual materials for drivers.
So manuals and safety info in different languages.
Exactly. They understand that being truly inclusive helps them attract and keep the best people. In this market, that's a huge competitive advantage. It's strategy.
And what about just getting started? Training costs can be a barrier, right?
A huge one. CDL school isn't cheap, so grants and scholarships are vital. Lots of programs out there, public and private, specifically aimed at helping women and minorities cover those costs.
Breaking down that financial hurdle.
Absolutely. And there are also really good programs focused on veterans, helping them transition their skills into trucking. That's a big pool of talent the industry needs.
And this outreach goes right down to the local level.
Yeah, working with community groups, churches, cultural centers, local colleges, workforce boards.
Why is that important?
Because it helps companies connect with potential drivers where they already feel comfortable, where they have trust. It builds support from the ground up. One source mentioned drivers recruited this way actually stayed longer.
Better retention. Makes sense.
Yeah, that local connection matters.
And behind all these programs and numbers, there are real people, real lives changing. The sources shared some powerful stories.
Yeah.
Like Lisa. She was a nurse, decided to switch careers, went to a women-focused trucking school.
Was she nervous about it, entering such a male-dominated field?
The story said she was, initially. But the mentorship and support she got made a huge difference. Now she drives long haul, and she's even training new women drivers herself, paying it forward.
That's fantastic. And then there was Carlos.
Right, Carlos, Mexican-American guy, got a scholarship aimed at Latino drivers. That helped him get started, connected him with mentors.
And now?
Now, just a few years later, he owns his own small fleet, 3 trucks. And he's mentoring young Latino drivers from his own community.
Wow, so not just a job, but entrepreneurship, community leadership.
Exactly. And Monique, a single mom, found stability, good income through a community trucking program.
How did that work for her as a mom?
The program partnered with her local community center, offered more flexible scheduling, local routes. That let her build a career without having to be away from her kids constantly. Huge difference for her.
These stories really show it, don't they? With the right support, anyone can make it in this industry. It blows up those old stereotypes.
Totally. Real pathways, real change for families.
Yeah, it's about transforming lives, not just filling jobs.
Okay, so there's amazing progress, inspiring stories, but it's not perfect yet. The sources were clear about ongoing challenges. What are some of those bumps still in the road?
Yeah, definitely still things to work on. One big one is just those lingering stereotypes. Old ideas about who should be driving a truck. They can be hard to shake.
Affecting recruitment or maybe how people are treated on the job?
Both, potentially. And then there are practical issues like childcare, especially for women on long-haul routes. You're gone for days, weeks sometimes. Standard daycare doesn't work.
That's a huge logistical problem.
Yeah.
What are the potential solutions there?
Well, the sources talk about needing more flexible scheduling, maybe company-supported or subsidized care, even ideas like mobile childcare for drivers. It needs creative thinking.
What else? Language barriers came up earlier.
Still an issue, yes. Need for more multilingual resources, maybe even tech solutions like in-cab translation support. And something really basic but critical, safe parking.
Safe parking, tell me more.
It's a huge concern, especially for women and potentially minority drivers who might feel more vulnerable. Many truck stops just lack good lighting, security, clean, private restrooms.
Making people feel unsafe or unwelcome.
Exactly. It can be a real deterrent, especially for new drivers thinking about entering the industry. It needs serious attention, infrastructure investment, security improvements.
So, quite a few challenges still. How do we keep tackling these? What's the path forward?
Well, the good news is the industry seems aware and is working on it. It involves policy changes, maybe mandates for safer stops, funding for language resources.
In continued education.
Definitely. Keep chipping away at those stereotypes. And ongoing community work to find practical solutions for things like childcare. It's a journey, not a destination, requires constant effort.
Right, continuous improvement.
From lots of different players, companies, government, associations, drivers themselves.
So we've covered a lot today. The real why behind diversity in trucking, the initiatives making it happen, the stories.
And the challenge is still ahead. But also that powerful vision the sources point to. Imagine a world where any little girl knows she can drive a truck if she wants to.
Where anyone from any background feels genuinely welcome.
Yeah, where the industry really mirrors the diversity of the country it serves. That's the goal, and it feels like it's getting closer. It's not just a dream anymore.
It's the future being built right now.
Okay.
So, thinking about all this, maybe for you listening, how do these ideas about diversity in trucking apply elsewhere? In your own industry, your community?
Yeah, what could you do personally to help build that kind of welcoming, inclusive space wherever you are?
Because it starts with that commitment, doesn't it? Diversity, equity, inclusion. Let's keep rolling forward together.